This incident took place approximately 3 years ago when I was still a college student studying digital marketing, specializing in advertising and graphic design. With my hectic schedule, I barely had time to take up a part-time job, so I resorted to freelancing as a graphic designer during the limited free time I had. Most of my design work occurred late at night, but I managed to keep up with emails during the day. While the freelance gigs brought in decent money, they weren't sufficient to cover all my expenses. To complicate matters, the company managing the cafeteria at my college went bankrupt, causing me to be removed from our 21 meals a week plan. Consequently, I had to find alternative ways to sustain myself. I started placing small advertisements in a newspaper and explored online platforms for job opportunities, abandoning my previous reliance on Craigslist. Luckily, I managed to secure a few promising jobs, which gave me a sense of optimism. However, everything took a turn for the worse on that fateful night. It was around 10:45 p.m. when I received an email, which struck me as odd given the late hour and the fact that it was a weekday. Considering the subject line read, "I need an ad made," and the message only said, "Okay," I immediately sensed something suspicious. Despite my instincts, I promptly replied, requesting more information about the project. The sender claimed to own a custom shower company and wanted me to Photoshop an image, add text, and format it for billboard printing. When the person sent me the image, it depicted a custom shower with 2 running shower heads. The request was to remove one of the heads. I expressed my concerns, explaining the difficulty in achieving the desired outcome due to the intersecting streams. However, the response I received was dismissive. So, just do it. Undeterred, I completed the ad as per the client's request, intending to add a watermark before sending the final copy and requesting payment. That's when I noticed something troubling. The image was already faintly watermarked by another local shower company, and it didn't match the client's brand. It became apparent that this individual had stolen the picture from another company. I promptly informed the client that I couldn't proceed with the ad due to the use of a copyrighted image. However, instead of acknowledging the issue, the client became hostile and claimed to have taken the photo with their phone earlier that week. Realizing it was futile to reason with this person, I decided to block their emails as they had started to border on harassment. I had more important matters to attend to than dealing with such a troublesome individual. Fast forward 2 weeks. Unexpectedly, I received a call from an unknown number, and it was none other than the same client who claimed I had messed up his project. He arrogantly mentioned that he had paid another designer a significant amount of money to complete the job. These calls persisted over the next week, but I chose to ignore them, refusing to engage any further. Then, something peculiar occurred. The client resorted to texting me, but this time it was from his actual number. It seemed he had attempted to hide his identity during the previous calls using 67, but this trick didn't work in the realm of texting. This would soon prove to be his own undoing when it came to seeking revenge. And now, for the satisfying revenge. After my semester ended, I decided to take a 2-hour drive to visit my parents during the week-long break. As I was cruising along the freeway, something caught my eye, a familiar image. It was the very photo the client had wanted me to transform into an ad for his company, prominently displayed on a billboard. However, to my surprise, the ad showcased his own company, although it was evident that he hadn't hired another designer. The quality of the design appeared as though it had been hastily created in MS Paint. Seizing the opportunity, I quickly exited at the next off-ramp, determined to capture photographic evidence and jot down the billboard's location. Upon returning from my parents' house, I wasted no time firing up my computer and reaching out to the company that owned the photo. I sent them the pictures I had taken, along with the precise location and the client's incriminating emails. They expressed their gratitude for my assistance, and with a sense of satisfaction, I happily retired to bed. Fast forward a month. On a Saturday morning, I received an unexpected call, summoning me to the offices of the photo's rightful owners. They needed me to come in to discuss a few crucial matters. It turned out that they had taken legal action against the client for the copyright infringement, as he stubbornly insisted that the photo belonged to him. While in court serving as a witness, the judge informed me of an additional opportunity. I could file a claim for harassment and obtain a restraining order against the client. Ordinarily, I might not have bothered, but the prospect of having harassment charges on his record seemed fitting given his behavior. Due to the considerable legal fees incurred, the client's company eventually crumbled under the financial strain. Later, I discovered that he had attempted to start another similar venture, but his past caught up with him. He was forced to disclose his harassment charge to potential employees, making it impossible for him to assemble a team. Consequently, his second company suffered the same fate as the first, ultimately leading to its demise. Let me introduce you to Regina, a woman who is undoubtedly great as a person, but unfortunately falls short as a coworker. When I joined this company a year ago, Regina was assigned to train me on a specific aspect of our job. However, despite my 8 years of industry experience, I found myself constantly asking her to slow down and repeat herself because her explanations made little sense. Surprisingly, my boss was able to provide a clear and concise explanation within 5 minutes, leaving me wondering why Regina struggled to convey the same information. To complicate matters, I noticed a peculiar habit of Regina's early on. She would consistently CC our boss on every email she sent me, often highlighting so-called problems she believed she had identified. However, my boss always supported me as I was in the right, rendering Regina's attempts futile. Feeling disrespected and sensing a hidden agenda, I decided to reach out to Regina privately and express my concerns. In response, she replied, CCing our boss once again, placing the blame on me and suggesting that I was responsible for perceiving the situation negatively. It was disheartening to receive such a dismissive response. Given our remote work setup, our boss had designated specific individuals to oversee different aspects of our team's responsibilities, ensuring smooth operations. One of my assigned tasks was to issue documents for signature using a well-known system. Typically, my team would send me an email containing the relevant documents and instructions, specifying whom to send them to. Interestingly, Regina only copied our boss on exceptionally important documents, which seemed reasonable to me. One day, Regina sent me a request and, unfortunately, I forgot to copy her when I issued the documents. Realizing the oversight, within a minute I rectified the situation without causing any issues. However, Regina decided to make a big deal out of it, sending multiple emails and even discussing it during our team meeting. This incident left me feeling frustrated. The irony was that she hadn't attached the documents I needed to send, nor did she inform me of their location for me to retrieve them myself. I had no choice but to request the documents from her directly. Eventually, she sent them, claiming they were the final approved versions. However, upon review, I discovered multiple errors. First, we were supposed to send PDFs, not Word documents, which she had sent. Second, the formatting was atrocious, with signature blocks spanning 4 pages instead of 1, and the vendor's name and address scattered across unrelated tables. Despite the subpar state of the documents, I forwarded them as they were. Naturally, my boss was copied on this email, as she had to sign the document as well, and needless to say, she was not pleased with its quality. To defend myself, I replied to my boss, attaching Regina's email that claimed the document was approved and explained that due to my other ongoing projects, I hadn't been able to perform my usual quality checks. Although such checks were not expected of me, I usually did them to prevent any future issues. My boss then responded to Regina, copying me and reprimanded her for her mistakes, emphasizing that I wouldn't be responsible for fixing them since I had my own job to focus on. This dissatisfaction with Regina's performance was also reiterated during our subsequent team meeting, leaving no doubt about my boss's frustration. Although she reassured me during our one-on-one that her anger was not directed towards me. In a surprising turn of events, the next request I received from Regina was meticulously detailed and provided all the necessary information in the correct format. A few years ago, we organized a family reunion near Nashville, even though our family wasn't originally from that area. The location was chosen for its convenience, as it allowed the branches of our family from Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida to gather in one place. To make things even better, my cousin managed a campground there and secured us a fantastic deal on the cabins since it was the off-season. However, for my wife and me living on the shores of the Puget Sound, it wasn't as convenient. While everyone else could easily drive to the reunion, we had to take a flight. Thankfully, thanks to my cousin's help, we were able to arrive a day early and leave a day later. By flying in on the Friday before and out on Monday after, we avoided the holiday weekend rush and saved a whopping 80% on our tickets. This gave us some precious time away from family commitments, allowing us to indulge in activities like geocaching and paying a visit to Johnny Cash's grave. Fast forward to the Monday before Thanksgiving, and my wife and I were enjoying the company of a few cousins who had arrived the day before. Most of the family was scheduled to arrive on Monday, and I wanted to be there to greet them. Living so far away, these family gatherings were rare opportunities for me to see my loved ones. As I was savoring the moments, my phone suddenly rang. It was my mom. She was somewhere in the North Georgia boonies and requested that I go to the grocery store and buy apples for her to make apple pies for Thanksgiving. "Mom, why didn't you get the apples in Florida?" I inquired. "Because they'll be fresher if you buy them in Nashville," she replied. Deep down, I knew it wouldn't make much of a difference. All apples typically come from the same warehouse and have likely been stored there for quite some time. Despite this realization, I refrained from voicing my thoughts aloud. Arguing would have been pointless, and I still had to fulfill the task of buying the apples. So one of my cousins and I ventured out to the local megamart, only to be faced with a significant predicament. Neither of us were experienced bakers, and a phone call confirmed that nobody at the campground possessed that skill either. Upon relaying this information to my mom, her response was less than helpful. "Oh, just get any pie apple, it doesn't matter." Now, what were we supposed to do? I mustered the courage to approach one of the store clerks, fully aware that it could go either way. Sometimes they're knowledgeable and helpful, but other times they can be dismissive or mislead you. And then, as if by divine intervention, an angel appeared before me. They're becoming increasingly rare these days, but you can still find them. This lady had been baking since she could stand unassisted, learning the craft from her grandmother. And if you're a certain age and from the South, you can easily recognize these angels. Though I hadn't lived in the South for over 20 years, I still knew the unwritten rules of engaging with them. I composed myself, put on my best manners, wore a slightly defeated expression, and implored for her assistance. "Ma'am, I hate to be a bother, but I'm facing a problem and I would greatly appreciate your guidance," I earnestly appealed. "Oh, honey, of course. What can I do for you?" she responded kindly. I explained my predicament, and the angel immediately took control, steering my shopping cart toward the display of apples. After a brief discussion on the merits and characteristics of various apple types, she inquired about the kind of apple pie my mom intended to make. Frankly, I had no clue, though I phrased it more politely and with a touch of self-deprecation. "Well then, just grab some of these, a few of those and a couple of these others, and you should be fine. Don't worry. Just tell your mom that this old lady said everything will turn out just fine," she reassured me. Her assumption that my mom was uncertain about the specific apple variety was probably accurate. While my mom was a skilled cook and baker, the only pies I could recall her making were pumpkin and Boston cream. By the way, the Boston cream pie she made for me later turned out to be the last thing she ever baked for me, but that's a story for another time and place. So I followed the angel's advice, picking up a variety of apples, hoping for the best. When I handed the bags of apples to my mom, her only remark was a simple thanks. "These are perfect," so I guess I managed to get it right. In the end, the pies turned out to be absolutely wonderful. To our surprise, Thanksgiving Day itself was blessed with a miraculous 72-degree weather, sunny and crystal clear. We set up a buffet on the lush lawn and dined under the shade of the trees. I even indulged in 2 slices of that delicious apple pie. As we tidied up after the feast, I noticed half a pie remaining, and I secretly stashed it in the fridge in my cabin for a delightful breakfast the next morning. My mom shot me a scowl as I made off with it, but she owed me for the errand and for giving away nearly an entire fifth of my beloved Jack Daniels. The toddies she made for me and my uncles were exceptional, but that's another story altogether.